5 signs your aura is powerful. Have you ever walked into a room, said nothing, made no attempt to draw attention, and yet felt the eyes of everyone turning toward you? Not because of flashy clothes, not because you were trying to be noticed, but simply because something about your presence shifted the air. A few people adjusted their posture, some went quiet, and others seemed uneasy without knowing why. That's not magic, not luck. That is aura, the invisible field of energy every human carries, but for some, it's so strong that others can't help but feel it. In American life, you see this everywhere. When a true leader enters the office, the noisy room suddenly falls silent. At a family gathering, one person barely speaks, yet everyone wants to sit near them. Even in a crowded coffee shop, there are faces the staff remembers, treating them differently from the rest. People call it a magnetic presence, an invisible pull. But through the Stoic lens, we know it's not some miracle. It results from a life of discipline, principles, and an inner strength forged in silence. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Stand firm like a rock against which the waves break and it remains unmoved." That image isn't just philosophy, it perfectly describes a powerful aura. Your aura doesn't come from clothing, money, or charm. It comes from the stillness you've built inside. Learning to command your reactions instead of being dragged around by your emotions. From no longer chasing approval because you've already found yourself. And this is what makes you different. Most people in modern society live drowned in noise, phones, ringing emails, stacking up social media, dragging them into an endless loop of comparison and attention-seeking. But someone with a strong aura doesn't need any of that. Their presence alone is enough. They don't need to shout to be heard. They don't need to perform to be respected. They need to be there, and the entire atmosphere changes. Maybe you've been called too quiet, too distant, or different. But that difference is the first sign you are not like the crowd and don't need to be. Epictetus once said, "If you want to be free, let others think what they want. Let them say what they will. Do not concern yourself." True freedom is freedom from those opinions. A person who has learned to stand steady against judgment radiates a power that's hard to describe, yet impossible to ignore. Ask yourself, how many times in the past week has a stranger shared something personal with you without knowing why? How often have you stepped into a room and felt the air shift? How often have people come to you for reassurance, even when you didn't say a word? If this has happened, congratulations. That is no accident. It's a sign your aura is alive and active, even if you've never named it. In this video, we'll explore 5 clear signs that prove your aura is powerful and different. These are not communication tricks or social hacks. They are the natural expression of someone who has trained themselves in the Stoic spirit, mastering self-control, living true to their values, and accepting hardships as part of the path. But before we dive into the signs, remember this: aura is not something you put on to impress others. It's not a mask you wear for effect. Aura is a consequence. It is living proof of what you've conquered inside. And when you've built an inner fortress that no one can break, the outside world can't help but feel it. So what are the 5 signs that show you are not like everyone else, and that your aura carries a strength that makes people listen even in your silence? Let's begin with the first sign. Sign 1: presence that changes the room. Have you ever walked into a crowded room and felt the atmosphere shift simply because one person just entered? That person doesn't need to speak loudly, doesn't need expensive clothes, and doesn't even need to act important. Yet the moment they arrive, eyes turn toward them. Voices soften and the whole space becomes more serious. This isn't an illusion. It's the power of a steady aura, the glow that radiates from an inner life that has been trained. And this is the first sign that your aura is more potent than you think. Your presence changes the room. Stoicism holds a core principle: no one can control you unless you allow it. Once you absorb this truth, you begin to live in calm. Every external wave no longer stirs your mind. And that calm, repeated daily, builds into an invisible gravity. Others can't explain it, but they feel it. That presence isn't loud, but it carries weight. In American workplaces, the clearest example is when a true leader walks into a meeting. Not the kind who yells, not the type who proves authority by barking orders. Instead, the kind who sits down, looks calmly across the room, and suddenly the heated debate cools. Or in a family, maybe you've seen a mother or father who doesn't need to scold or raise their voice, yet the children immediately straighten up in their presence. This is the power of aura. It shapes the emotional climate around you. Epictetus once said, "Do not seek to control what is not yours. Control only your own mind." When you do this, you become like a lamp that stands still, giving light without boasting. Others respond to you not because you force them, but because your light makes them see themselves. When you enter a room with stillness, you make the noisy ones aware of their own unrest. When you walk in with steadiness, you make the restless see their lack of roots. That is why a strong aura often creates two opposite reactions, respect and trust. On one hand, discomfort and envy on the other. The key is that a Stoic does not try to control the reactions of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Pay no attention to applause or blame. Do what is right, let it speak for itself." A strong aura is not built to make others like you. It is proof that you have disciplined yourself. It's like the fragrance of a flower. It doesn't advertise. It doesn't beg to be noticed, but anyone who comes near can smell it. Think back over the past week. Did you ever walk into a space and notice eyes turning towards you? Did colleagues fall quiet when you began to speak, even though you gave no command? Did a stranger smile at you or open up for no apparent reason? That is not just luck. That is the result of a consistent energy you've been building. People sense stability and unconsciously adjust themselves to match it. One of the most potent signs of aura is that even silence carries weight. Most people fear space, so they talk endlessly to fill it. But those with a strong aura know silence is a tool. In a meeting, your silence makes others reflect on their own words. In a family argument, your silence slows others down, forcing them to see the weakness in their reasoning. Seneca once wrote, "Whoever controls his silence possesses a power greater than speech." And it's true, your silence becomes a mirror. Of course, this kind of presence is not easy to gain. It doesn't come from luck or birth. It comes from steady training, waking early to discipline the body, exercising, to keep strength, reading and journaling to sharpen the mind, and keeping promises to yourself to solidify character. Each choice is a brick building the wall of your inner fortress. And when that wall is strong enough, the outer world can no longer shake you. Others notice this and they feel the invisible weight you carry. In daily life, you can test it in small moments. For example, you don't need to meet rage with rage when someone lashes out in anger. A calm look, a short line like, "I hear you." In that instant, they lower their voice. Not because you force them, but because they feel foolish losing control in front of someone who remains unmoved. This proves aura is not a mystical idea, but a skill that is sharpened daily. It's also important to note a strong aura doesn't mean everyone will like you. In fact, sometimes it unsettles people. They see you and feel exposed in their own weakness. They may avoid you or even attack. But as Marcus Aurelius reminded, don't let the pettiness of others make you petty too. Hold your dignity, and that is enough. Once you understand this, you stop chasing acceptance and focus only on keeping your inner strength intact. And that strength is the deepest mark you'll leave on others. The answer is simple if you're wondering how to strengthen this sign. Start with small habits. 5 minutes each morning, sitting still and breathing deeply every night, writing down 3 things you're proud of, and when insulted, count to 10 before you answer. These tiny acts are how you train your aura daily. Don't expect a dramatic overnight change. Be patient. A tree doesn't give shade after one night, and your aura won't thicken in weeks. It takes years of steady building, but it stays with you for life once formed. And the most remarkable thing is this: once your aura grows strong enough, it captures attention and opens hearts. When people sense your steadiness, they feel safe to tell you the truth. Strangers share private stories, coworkers confide, and friends trust you as their anchor. This is the shift from presence that commands attention to presence that invites openness. And that brings us to the second sign we'll explore: why strangers feel comfortable revealing themselves to you, and how to turn that into a source of strength instead of a burden. Sign 2. Superior intuition and emotional sensitivity. If the first sign of a powerful aura is a presence that changes the room, then the second sign is a quieter but sharper ability. You sense energy before words are spoken. In other words, you possess a refined intuition and an emotional sensitivity far greater than most people. You walk into a meeting. People are laughing, shuffling papers, typing on laptops. But you immediately know that beneath the surface, there's tension. No one has argued yet. No obvious sign is visible, but your body already knows. Your heartbeat quickens slightly, your breath shortens, and the air thickens. Minutes later, as you sense the meeting turned heated, when the boss asked a tricky question. At that moment, you realize that what you felt earlier wasn't random. It was your aura, a finely tuned antenna picking up the energy around you. Stoicism explains this ability efficiently. The Stoics train themselves to observe the inner self to separate impulsive reactions from truth. When you live with discipline, you are no longer scattered by the noise of dazzers or meaningless impulses. Your mind becomes clearer, sharper, and this clarity allows you to notice subtle vibrations that others miss. Epictetus once said, "Observe but do not rush to judge." The longer you observe, the more you begin to hear the unspoken signals intuition. In American society, there's a common phenomenon. Many who work in high-pressure environments are cut off from their real emotions. They wear a professional mask trying to hide anxiety or dissatisfaction. But for someone with a strong aura, that mask fools no one. You feel the unease in their eyes, the hollowness in their voice, the stiffness in the atmosphere. This can make you the only one in the group who sees the truth before it explodes. And many times this sensitivity saves you from costly mistakes. Imagine you're an employee at a tech company in California. Your team is preparing to launch a new product. On paper, everything looks perfect: the plan, the marketing campaign, the enthusiasm from leadership. But during one meeting, you feel something is off. Not the technical details, but the general energy, a colleague's hesitant glance, and unusual silence during a report. You don't have hard evidence, but you trust that feeling. Weeks later, you discover the project has a significant security flaw that the team tried to bury. Because of intuition, you didn't pour more time and energy into the wrong path. This is the practical value of a strong aura. It protects you by warning you early. However, this sensitivity comes with challenges. Because when you feel more, you also tire more easily. That's why people with strong auras often feel overwhelmed in crowded places, malls, concerts, big parties. They sense their own emotions in those of dozens, even hundreds around them. All those energies collide, creating a heavy mix in the mind. Without management, exhaustion sets in without explanation. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes your shield. Stoicism teaches us to separate clearly what is within our control, what is not. You can't control the energy others bring, but you can control whether you let it enter your inner space. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "If the mind remains calm, the storm outside cannot harm you." That line is not theory, it's a practical guide for someone with a strong aura. So how do you apply it? There are 3 small steps you can begin right away. First, practice conscious breathing. When you enter a new environment, take 3 deep breaths and ask, what energy here is not mine? This question separates you from others' emotions and keeps you from being pulled in. Second, record your experiences. When you feel a strong intuition, please write it down, the time, context, and sensation. Later, when reality proves itself, you'll see how accurate your intuition was. This helps you distinguish between baseless anxiety and precise intuition. Third, create energy boundaries. Just as you lock your house to protect your belongings, you must also lock your mind against unconscious intrusion. Maybe you imagine a light layer around your body, or remind yourself, this is not mine. That's the Stoic practice, keeping your inner self free from being overrun by the outer. Remember, emotional sensitivity is not a burden, it's a tool. It helps you detect toxic relationships. In a friendship, if you leave drained every time you meet someone, trust that signal. It's not that you're too sensitive, it's your aura warning you that their energy doesn't fit. In love, intuition often reveals deceit before proof appears. And at work, it steers you away from risky projects and partners. Another example is that in New York, many in finance look confident on the outside, but if you're sensitive enough, you sense the insecurity beneath the suit. Those with strong auras notice this and keep their distance, avoiding being sucked into the collective storm of anxiety. This is Stoicism applied in modern life. Observe, discern, remain calm, and invest energy only where it matters. Interestingly, this sensitivity also draws people to you as a safe place. They feel understood without saying much. They tell you secrets open up over coffee or on a short flight. They don't know why, but they trust you. Because your aura doesn't just sense, it sends a message. Here there is no judgment. That is deeply Stoic. You don't chase trivial drama. You don't cling to the meaningless. You show up and listen. But don't confuse sensitivity with anxiety. Anxiety makes you restless, while intuition brings calm. An anxious person always asks, what if? But intuition says this is. Those with strong auras learn to draw that line. The more they practice Stoicism, the more they separate from cycles of speculation and trust the quiet voice within. To train this, try a simple exercise. At the end of the day, close your eyes and recall 3 moments when you felt an inner warning. Write them down, then compare with what actually happened. After a few weeks, you'll notice your accuracy rising. This is no superpower, but the result of focus, exactly what Stoicism has taught us for thousands of years. Once you master emotional sensitivity, you'll no longer be a victim of surrounding energies. Instead, you become a guide. When your team grows tense, you're the first to lower the tone with a short remark. When the family is chaotic, you sit still and create a calm space. When friends are confused, you give advice drawn from logic and feeling. And this is the essence of a strong aura. It doesn't drain you, it makes you the anchor in the storm. From this emotional sensitivity, we move to the third sign. Another layer of the aura's strength when inner energy is felt and manifests physically. Lights may flicker, electronics may suddenly fail, and the air may feel warmer or different when you arrive. That's when your aura steps from the invisible into the visible. Sign 3, when aura becomes visible, the physical manifestation of energy. Most of us think of energy as something invisible only felt through intuition or emotion. But when your aura is strong, it doesn't stop at feeling. It begins to manifest as physical changes in the environment around you. Others may not know how to name it, but they see it, feel it, and even experience its direct effects. This is the third sign when aura becomes a tangible force in the physical world. In Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A pure and steadfast soul shines like a lamp without oil." This metaphor is not only about morality or spirit, but also reflects a truth. When your mind reaches clarity and discipline, the energy you emit becomes a light that others can recognize even with their physical senses. Take a real example. In America, many people report strange incidents, phones shutting down unexpectedly, lights flickering, or clocks stopping when they're under stress. At first, they think it's just a technical glitch, but then they notice the same things keep happening whenever their emotions peak. This is no coincidence for those with a distinct aura. It results from the energy field they project. A friend in Chicago once told me that during his stressful divorce, odd things happened everywhere he went. His laptop kept freezing, his phone drained unusually fast, and the light bulbs in his home burned out constantly. As his spirit stabilized through meditation and Stoic journaling, these phenomena subsided. He didn't see it as magic, but as proof that inner state and outer environment are tied more closely than we realize. Stoicism isn't mystical, but offers a profound explanation. Every disturbance outside begins with a disturbance inside. Seneca once said, "A troubled mind sees a troubled world." Conversely, a balanced mind makes the world around it seem calmer. When aura is strong enough that balance isn't just a feeling, it becomes a real influence. Think about walking into a chaotic space. Loud voices, frustration, tension in the air. But when you sit down, silence gradually spreads. People's rhythm slows, voices soften. The atmosphere lightens. This is when a strong aura creates a physical effect anyone can feel, like an air conditioner cooling a room without saying a word. At a more subtle level, the human body itself becomes proof. People with strong auras are often described as warm, even in a cool room. Their handshake carries a flow of heat. This isn't magic, but the result of a specific biological state, a harmonious nervous system, steady energy circulation, and inner calm that radiates outward. On the other hand, when they're unsettled, the air around them may feel cold, giving others goosebumps. A small example from American life in New York or Los Angeles offices, it's not uncommon to have coworkers jokingly called the one with strange energy. When they're happy, the whole team feels uplifted. When they're tense, everyone feels drained. Nobody names it outright, but everyone senses it. This shows aura isn't vague, it's a real force that shapes the collective environment. Stoicism emphasizes one crucial principle: you can't control everything, but you can always control your response. And when you master yourself, your aura stabilizes. But if you let emotions drag you, your aura becomes a storm that sweeps up everyone around you. That's why the Stoics saw mental discipline as a personal benefit and a duty to the community, because the presence of one steady soul can be a stabilizing force for many others. You may have experienced sudden goosebumps, not from cold or fear, but when hearing someone speak with sincerity, witnessing an act of courage, or feeling the intensity of a powerful event. This is proof that the body reacts to energy fields around you. Those with strong auras often evoke this reaction in others simply through their presence. So how do you manage and develop this sign instead of being consumed by it? Stoicism offers 3 practices. First, maintain physical discipline. A substantial body is the foundation of strong energy. Marcus Aurelius once reminded, "A strong spirit cannot dwell in a weak body." Exercise regularly and eat in balance, because the body is the transmitter of your aura. Second practice, intentional silence. The Stoics use silence as a tool to listen and correct themselves. Spend a few minutes each day sitting still, observing breath and thought. You not only calm the mind, but also refine the energy you project. As a result, your presence becomes clearer and stronger. Third, live with absolute honesty. A strong aura cannot be faked. It forms from the alignment of thought, word, and action. When you say one thing and do another, your energy becomes chaotic. But when you are honest with yourself, your aura becomes transparent and convincing without words. Remember, a strong aura isn't meant to grab attention, but to bring invisible correction. When you enter a room, your energy is like background music. If your inner world is chaotic, that music is harsh, making others uneasy. But if your inner world is calm, the music is soothing, bringing the whole space into balance. This is the physical power of aura. It doesn't need explanation, but everyone feels it. And for this very reason, people with strong auras must learn to protect themselves. The physical manifestation of energy is outward and can drain you. Like a great fire that lights and warms it can burn itself out without management. This is why the next step, sign 4, becomes essential. The ability to set boundaries and manage energy intuitively. Because the more substantial the light, the greater the need to protect and sustain it. Sign 4, the ability to set boundaries and manage energy intuitively. The brighter the flame, the more it must be shielded from the wind. The same is true for a person with a strong aura. You can attract, inspire, and influence, but at the same time you can be easily drained if you don't know how to keep your boundaries. And the fourth sign of a potent aura is the ability to set natural boundaries and manage energy intuitively without forcing it. Americans often say, "My energy is expensive." Those who understand this don't freely hand out their presence, attention, or time to anyone. They know when to open and when to close. That's not coldness, it's wisdom. The wisdom of people who have burned out before, given too much, and learned that strength only lasts when appropriately managed. In Stoic philosophy, Epictetus once emphasized, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish or stupid." This line reminds us not only about self-control in action, but also about accepting the need for boundaries even when others don't understand. When you decline an invitation, choose silence instead of argument, and decide to withdraw from a crowded party, some may judge you. But the Stoic knows inner peace is worth far more than outer approval. Picture a workplace scenario in New York. Colleagues often describe an employee named Daniel as quiet but strong. He listens more than he speaks and usually leaves the office on time instead of lingering at the bar with the group. Some think he's closed off, even distant. But in reality, Daniel knows he needs quiet to recharge, to journal at night, and to prepare his mind for the next day. Because of this habit, he remains calm even when the company enters a crisis. His aura doesn't get swept up in chaos. It becomes a steady post others can lean on. Boundary setting often shows up in many forms. You refuse to join empty conversations instead of faking a polite smile. You know when to leave a toxic relationship instead of clinging in desperation. You value sleep and stillness, treating them as non-negotiable priorities. To outsiders, this might look selfish, but from a Stoic perspective, it's awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let others do what they think is right. As for you, hold to your own light." Someone with a strong aura doesn't get pulled into the need to please. They manage energy through intuition, not by rigid planning charts, but by listening to body and mind, knowing when to rest, when to act. There's an interesting reality. Many people with strong auras are seen as hard to reach or mysterious, but this is their natural shield. Their energy is like high voltage. Not everyone is ready to touch it. This difference forces them to choose carefully environments, people, habits. Not to detach from society, but to detach from what drains them needlessly. You see this clearly in American life, in successful people who live. A CEO may be worth billions, but keeps only a small circle of friends, spends most of their time with family, and reads. Outsiders don't get it. They think the CEO is closed off. But in truth, it's wisdom. They know which boundaries keep them strong. So how do you train this Stoic style of energy management? First, observe your body. Each time you enter a crowd, ask, "How do I feel?" If someone's presence leaves you drained instead of energized, admit it. Please don't force it. The Stoic doesn't deny truth to satisfy society. Second practice, silent refusal. No need for lengthy explanations. A simple line, "Today I need time for myself," is enough. Stoicism teaches that the most valuable words are short, direct, and without decoration. Third, create energy cleansing rituals. Seneca once advised ending the day by questioning yourself. How did I live today? What did I allow into my mind? You can turn this into a nightly journaling habit, or sit quietly for 10 minutes in the dark, breathing deeply, imagining tension leaving your body. This preserves your aura so it stays clear the next day. Fourth, respect. Silence. In a noisy world, silence becomes one of the strongest boundaries. The Stoic doesn't need to prove worth with grand words. They let actions and presence speak. Silence conserves energy instead of scattering it through unnecessary talk. When you practice these principles, you notice an apparent change. Your presence grows steadier, more sustainable. You no longer feel drained after every encounter. You no longer strain to please everyone. You begin to move lightly, yet you still carry weight in every room you enter. Remember, this sign is not about being difficult. It's about inner sovereignty. A person with a strong aura is like a fortress. The gate always open to worthy people, but the walls always firm against the storm. This is the Stoic balance, knowing what lies within your control and what belongs outside the gate. At this point, you may notice a meaningful connection. By learning to protect your energy, you avoid burnout and concentrate your aura, making it stronger. And at that very moment, something remarkable begins to happen. Your energy stabilizes and starts aligning with the world, creating unexpected events, meaningful coincidences, gifts that seem to arrive at just the right time. That is when you enter the fifth sign, the ability to attract synchronicity and turn intention into reality. Sign 5, the ability to attract synchronicity and turn will into reality. Some moments make you stop and wonder, is this just a coincidence or is something greater at work? You think of an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, and minutes later, your phone rings with their name on the screen. You worry about a bill to be paid, and suddenly a new contract arrives at the perfect time. You long for a career change, and an unexpected job offer comes the very next week. Most people call it luck, chance, or fate. But through the eyes of the Stoic, nothing is merely random. Everything reflects cosmic order, and those with a strong aura become the bridge between mind and reality. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that everything that happens is fit for you, not to defeat you, but to help you grow. A person with a strong aura understands this deeply. They don't see coincidences as fate's games, but as the world's feedback to their inner state. The outer world naturally adjusts to match it when they carry order, clarity, and discipline within. The ability to attract synchronicity isn't magic. It's the inevitable result of alignment between mind and action. Imagine a man named Daniel in New York. He used to be just another employee at a tech firm, always chasing deadlines, constantly anxious about missing opportunities. Then he started a small daily practice. He wrote down what he wanted to feel and experience that day every morning. Not vague dreams like, I want to be happy or I want to be rich, but specific intentions: finishing work on time without panic, staying calm in meetings, and ending the day with gratitude instead of exhaustion. He kept at it for months. Slowly, his coworkers noticed he was different. Not because he spoke better or dressed sharper, but because his calm created a subtle magnetism. Opportunities for promotion found him not because he hustled to prove himself, but because people trusted his steadiness. This change wasn't a miracle. It was proof of how a strong aura turns intention into reality. Most people live in contradiction. In their mind, they want peace, but their actions make noise. They want freedom, yet waste energy pleasing others. In contrast, the Stoic trains to align inner desire with outer action. They know that if they seek steadiness, they must choose actions that reinforce it: waking early instead of oversleeping, exercising instead of complaining, journaling to understand themselves instead of avoiding feelings, staying silent instead of reacting impulsively. This alignment sharpens their energy like an arrow aimed straight at its target, and once released, the world arranges itself to respond. Many treat coincidences as mysteries, but truthfully, they follow a law. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences. People with strong auras experience synchronicity often because they've cleared the chaos in their minds and focused their energy. Focus sends a clear signal to the universe, which answers with matching opportunities. This isn't superstition. It's the principle of resonance. A woman in California shared that within weeks, opportunities appeared when she wrote her desires honestly in her journal. If she longed for peace, an invitation to a meditation retreat came. If she considered a career change, a friend introduced her to a new job. She didn't chase or beg. These things arrived naturally, as if the world was listening and responding. That's the mark of a strong aura. Yet Stoicism never encourages believing you can control everything. The Stoic knows we control effort, not results. You can plant seeds and nurture the soil, but it is beyond your will when the flowers bloom. A strong aura helps you plant rightly with clarity and discipline. So when the time comes, the universe delivers exactly what is needed for your growth. In practice, people with strong auras often notice clear signs. They repeatedly encounter the exact numbers like 1111 or 444 as invisible reminders. They stumble into brief conversations that become the start of essential relationships. They dream solutions to real problems and know exactly what to do upon waking. Events arrive right on time, not too early or late, as if arranged. And when observed closely, it's not magic. It's the natural result of living with inner order. The Stoic will never boast, "I have the power to attract the universe." They observe and realize that every event reflects itself. If their mind is chaotic, the world responds with disorder. If their inner life is clear, opportunities arrive with ease. They stop seeing themselves as victims of circumstance and instead as co-authors of it. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that today's actions shape tomorrow's fate. Every choice, every habit, every thought together, they create the chain of cause and effect. A person with a strong aura doesn't ask, "Why is everything against me?" but instead reflects, "What signal am I sending that the universe answers this way?" That's the fundamental shift from passivity to mastery. If you want to train this sign, start with a simple practice every night before bed. Breathe deeply. Visualize one specific thing you want to experience tomorrow. Feel it as if it already happened. Then write it down. The next morning, act in alignment with that vision. Repeat this and you'll see more coincidences appearing until you realize they're not luck, but the resonance between your mind and your life. Looking back at the previous 4 signs, natural presence, refined intuition, the ability to influence the physical world, and wisdom in setting boundaries, you see how they all lead here. Only when you are steady, disciplined, and protective of your energy can your aura reach outward, not just guarding you, but reshaping circumstances around you. And when that happens, you are no longer just a participant in life, you become a co-creator. The world will call it a coincidence. Outsiders will think you're lucky. But deep down, you know it's the natural result of a trained mind, a powerful aura that has learned to live in harmony with universal order. And you need no miracle. With your self-mastery, discipline, and inner peace, you have already become the miracle. We've just reached the 5th sign, which brings together everything that came before. When a person learns to master themselves, to guard their energy, to listen to their intuition, life naturally begins to respond. Opportunities arrive. Coincidences appear as if the outside world were echoing the order within you. And it is at this very moment you realize a strong aura isn't just a set of separate traits. It is the sum, the melody woven out of discipline, presence, and determination. So before we close, let's pause and look at the whole picture to see that these 5 signs, which seem separate, are in fact telling the same story. Looking back at the entire journey through the 5 signs of a strong aura, you may notice something crucial. None of this is beyond your control. Nothing is random magic. Nothing is the gamble of fate. Everything begins with how you face and train yourself. The first sign, natural presence, is not something you force with appearances or social tricks. It's the pull of a soul forged by discipline and self-control. When you no longer seek applause, you become the one others cannot stop looking at. This is the powerful paradox. The less you try to be accepted, the more magnetic you become. The second sign, refined intuition and emotional sensitivity, teaches that life is not lived by cold reason alone. A strong mind doesn't mean closing the heart, but learning to hear the subtle signals of the world. Those with strong auras feel without drowning and observe without constantly intervening. They understand that not everything felt requires a reaction, but every feeling contains a lesson. The third sign, the ability to influence the physical world, makes many skeptical. But if you've ever noticed your own tension making an entire room heavy, or your calm easing the atmosphere, you know inner energy always finds a way to show itself outwardly. Marcus Aurelius once reminded, "Our thoughts shape our life." A clear thought, a disciplined mind leaves its imprint on action in the space around you. The fourth sign, the ability to set boundaries and manage energy, reminds us that no flame can burn forever without protecting its fuel. Those with strong auras understand the value of retreat, silence, and rest to restore strength. They are not afraid of being called distant or misunderstood as cold because they know that protecting oneself is not selfish, it's a responsibility. Someone who cannot keep energy for themselves cannot give energy to anyone else. And finally, the fifth sign, the ability to attract synchronicity and turn will into reality is the natural result of the first four. When you carry natural presence, sharpened intuition and energy that influences your environment, and wisdom in setting boundaries, it is only natural that life begins to listen to you, not because you control everything, but because you are aligned with the order of the universe. Opportunities arrive at the right time. People enter your life as if sent. Coincidences become clear responses to your inner order. These five signs may appear separate, but they are five faces of one truth. Aura is not some mystical light around you, but the living reflection of the inner life you have chosen to build. A strong aura isn't born, it is forged in every discipline. Morning you rise, every moment you prefer silence over impulse. Every time you write down your truth instead of hiding every decision, where you reject the easy way to keep the right way. In real life, you'll notice that people with strong auras don't need to shout to be heard. They don't need to push for attention. Their presence is enough. At work, they are not the loudest in the meeting, but the room falls silent when they speak. In families, they are not the manipulators of emotion, but the quiet holders of peace at the table. In society, they are not the ones chasing the crowd, but the steady anchor others look to when storms come. Stoicism taught thousands of years ago that true power lies not in controlling others, but in managing yourself. A strong aura is living proof of that truth, for the one who masters themselves radiates a strength that makes the world itself adjust around them. Taken together, these five signs show that possessing a strong aura is not a privilege for the few. It is a path for anyone who dares to live honestly, embrace discipline, and take responsibility for their mind and soul. You don't need to wait for energy to come from somewhere else. You are the energy. You don't need to seek light. You are the light. And so the most significant lesson here is not how to make others see you as strong, but how to see the real strength in yourself. Once you are steady inside, you cannot help but shine outside. Once you have built inner peace, your aura becomes a lighthouse, silent, unadvertised, unforced, but felt by everyone. Lesson from the five signs of a strong aura. As we close this journey, the most important thing to remember is this: a strong aura is not a mystical gift handed to a lucky few. It results from every choice you make, every habit you nurture, every time you choose discipline over ease, silence over impulsive reaction, truth over pretense. Your aura is the mirror of your inner life, and somehow the world always reads the message reflected in that mirror. A person with a strong aura is not the loudest in the crowd. They are the ones who make the crowd fall silent when they walk in. They don't need to shout to prove themselves because their presence alone is enough. They don't seek validation but become the anchor others turn to when chaos strikes. They don't chase applause because they already know the loudest echo is the one within the echo of peace and self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The true victor is the one who conquers himself before trying to conquer the world." This is the essence of a strong aura, because you cannot expect others to feel safe, inspired, or willing to walk beside you if you haven't first stood firm in your mind and soul. A strong aura doesn't come from ambition to be remembered by others. It comes from the certainty that you are living true to your values daily. When your mind drifts with every emotion, your aura is weak, easily pulled away by external forces. But when you train your mind to be a fortress, your aura thickens, spreads, and becomes impenetrable. You become someone whose presence is felt by strangers and loved ones alike. And it's not the weight of violence or hollow power, it's the weight of truth and consistency. Today's world is in crisis precisely because it lacks people with such presence. Too many live in noise chasing shine and spectacle, while their mind and energies leak away daily. You are different when you dare to choose the Stoic path, silent but not passive, steadfast but not rigid, assertive, without needing to impose. From that choice, your aura begins to form, grows steadily, and becomes a lighthouse for others. Remember, aura is not a cloak you can wear when you wish. It is a wave of energy built from how you live each day. Every disciplined morning, every quiet evening, writing your thoughts every moment, you refuse the easy way to protect the right way. These all converge and radiate outward. Eventually, you'll realize you don't need to persuade anyone. Your aura speaks for you. The practical lesson here is simple. If you want a strong aura, don't start by trying to impress others. Start by impressing yourself. Live in such a way that when you look in the mirror, you can honestly say, I chose truth, I chose discipline, I chose the hard path because it was right. When you can do this, you'll stop worrying about how the world sees you, because the world will naturally adjust to the energy you project. This is the path to true freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is standing so firm that nothing can shake you. When others rage, you remain calm. When life is unfair, you stay steady. When opportunity arrives, you welcome it with humility. When hardship strikes, you face it with courage. That is the unmistakable sign of a strong aura. If you've come this far, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Look within. Ask yourself, what is my aura saying to the world? Is it telling the story of panic or the story of self-mastery? Is it spreading anxiety or sending out a message of peace? Only you have the answer, but the moment you dare to look honestly, you've already taken the first step toward making your aura an unbreakable source of strength. And as part of this community, let me remind you, you are not walking alone. What you've just heard, what you are practicing, places you on a shared path. The path of those who dare to live true, hold their values, and remain themselves in a chaotic world. If what you've just heard resonates with you, leave a comment. Please share your experience when you felt your aura at its strongest, because by sharing, you not only affirm your own journey, but you also open the door for others to recognize themselves in you. And if you want to go further, don't forget to subscribe to Sovereign Stoic. This isn't just a YouTube channel. It's a place where we build inner fortresses together, practice self-mastery together, and spread the energy this world is starving for. True strength is not in the noise you make, but in the echo your presence leaves behind. Your aura is the proof. And when you live rightly, no one can deny it.